Hello, how are you? Today's video is going to be, I'm excited for this one. Today's going to be all about products yep, that's what it's going to be about. Today's video is going to be all about products that I regret purchasing in 2019. So in 2019, I was on a low buy in my opinion, probably not in others, but I was watching my spending, let's just say that. And I have a basket full of products here that I regret buying for one reason or another. They just didn't end up working out for me for the most part, and that was money that could have been spent elsewhere. So I don't know, I didn't do like an exact count on the products that I have here. It is well over 10. Maybe grab some popcorn and a snack, and then let's jump into this video. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I do hope you'll consider doing so before you go. I do post 5 videos a week, but other than that, let's jump into some serious regrets. All right, guys, we all make mistakes, myself included. I make lots of mistakes, both in makeup purchasing decisions and in life. I mean, I made the decision to eat a whole pizza last night, which, you know, I'm trying to lose a couple pounds. That probably wasn't the best decision. Anyway, that's beside the point, but some of these just really were not great decisions on my end, and we'll get into why. But let's start with one that I actually thought pretty long and hard about, and the reason I regret buying this is just because it didn't work for me. So I don't necessarily know I would even say like it's a regret, but for me it was just a disappointing product, and this is the Milk Blur powder. So I had heard quite a few great reviews on this, just as a good powder to kind of blur the face, etc. But for me, I find this powder to be just a little bit too heavy, especially for my dry skin, and even underneath my eyes I find it to just look heavy. And I just really haven't found a way to make this powder work for me. If you guys have any tips or tricks on how you use this powder, do let me know. But as of right now, it's just a little bit heavy, and I just don't love the way that it looks. I'm not going to declutter it yet because I still like have that, I'm just like holding on to hope that like it's going to work for me someday. And it's not the worst powder I've ever tried, it just feels heavy. It's definitely not like Laura Mercier drying underneath my eyes, but it just is not my favorite. I definitely have other powders in my collection that I prefer to use over this and reach for way more often than I reach for this. It's been a little bit since I've reached for this. So I'm kind of disappointed that I purchased this. I was going between this and the Lawless Beauty powder, and I ended up going with this, I think because it was cheaper. But now I'm like, would I have liked the Lawless one better? I also really am interested in trying the Fenty one. So if you have any recommendations on Lawless or the Fenty powder, let me know what your thoughts are on those two below, because I don't want to have another disappointing product, but I do kind of want to try another loose powder. Ooh, next up, this was really, this just was really disappointing. And I think I've talked about this in a disappointing products video, and I definitely regret purchasing this because at the time that I purchased this, I was trying to curate my primer collection, and I was getting to a really good place, and then a new primer released and people were talking about it, and it was supposed to be like a bronzing primer, and I was like, oh hell yeah. And I ended up getting the Ofra Rays of Light primer, which does nothing for bronzing the skin. Absolutely nothing. If you're looking for something to like mix in with a foundation or a primer to actually give you more of a bronze, I would highly recommend the DeBronzy Drunk Elephant product. Highly recommend that. Love that product. Was hoping that this would be like a cheaper alternative to that, and it definitely isn't. The only saving grace for this product is that it does have a bit of a tack to it, so it does help slightly with makeup application, but this is not what I thought it was going to be, and I definitely regret purchasing this. Ooh, next one. This was a huge disappointment. So this is the Maybelline Dream Urban Cover foundation, and I just kind of bought into the hype of this when this first released and everyone was reviewing this. It does have SPF 50, and it sort of reminded me, like packaging wise, of the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Cream with Illumination, which also has SPF 50. So I thought I would buy this and hope that it worked just as well, if not better, than the IT Cosmetics one, and then I would have a cheaper alternative to that. But this breaks me out, and rare is the day that a foundation breaks me out. I rarely have issues with that, but this definitely was breaking me out to the point where I will not use this anymore, which is unfortunate. It also, the finish was okay, but I felt like this oxidized pretty bad on my skin, so it would be like throughout the day I would gradually look like I had been rubbing my face in Doritos. Like it just got really, really orange throughout the day, which I did not appreciate. So this is another product that I regret buying. Ooh, this one I really regret buying because I thought I was gonna love this, and I sort of bought into the hype of this too. So this is the Lawless bronzer, and this released right around the time of one of the Sephora VIB sales. I never would have considered purchasing this unless it had released like right around the time of that sale. Otherwise I totally would have forgotten about it. So I really kind of just bought this because I was interested and there was a sale going on, but I definitely did not need another bronzer, and I just don't love the shade of this bronzer. So I got the lighter one, and sometimes I feel like this just pulls more orange, but then sometimes I feel like, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's the right shade for me. And there are only 2 shades, which I get, it's a bronzer, there's not going to be like a plethora of shades, but I just feel like this is a little bit too warm and just not the right color for me. The formula feels really soft and buttery. It's easier to blend. Sometimes I feel like this can also be like a little bit patchy. I don't know. It's just, I was let down by this. It was $38. I should not have purchased this. I definitely didn't need this. I was also trying to curate my bronzer collection a little bit more. I feel like I had purchased probably other bronzers around this time, and I just really did not need this, and I definitely regret purchasing this because I also have not reached for this. I don't even think one time since I had like been testing it out to give my review and my follow-up haul. A palette I've talked about multiple times as a regret is the ABH Riviera palette. I just bought in this, honestly, I bought into the packaging of this. It was like the nautical theme, and I just couldn't resist, especially as this was releasing in like the dead of winter. I think it was like around the polar vortex time that the teasers for this were coming out. If you guys don't know what the polar vortex was, it was like negative 40 degrees. Ridiculous. So this just spoke to my soul when I was, you know, freezing my tushy off. And this is just not a color story that is wearable in my day-to-day life. I'm currently trying to pan the shade Seaside, which is a beautiful shade. Don't get me wrong, there's some beautiful shades in this, but this is not something that really adds value to my collection in a sense of I never want to reach for this. So I definitely didn't need this, and I definitely regret purchasing this. Another palette that I regret purchasing is the Pat McGrath. So this came in a set. This was the Pat McGrath Labs like mini set, and it came with her absolutely atrocious Fetish mascara. I literally don't know how she sells that shit because it ends up all over your face. I'm not kidding when I say that there was mascara like right here. How does that happen? Ridiculous. So this is the eyeshadow palette, and the only reason I ended up purchasing this was because I had put this on my loves list because I was like, oh, Pat McGrath for $48 and you get this mascara and you also get one of her like loose eyeshadow glitter pigments or whatever. I was like, oh, what a great deal. The eyeshadow palette is pretty, don't get me wrong. So I purchased this in store because I went into Sephora, God knows why, because it's a disaster when I enter there and I really just should not go inside. And they had this and I was like, oh my God, this is fate. I just put this on my loves list and my Sephora has it. I'm purchasing it. So yeah. These don't have any of the Pat McGrath like special shades. The shades, the like foiled shades are exceptionally foiled, but I also feel like you kind of have to pair this palette with another palette because the mattes that you have in here are darker. Like you don't have like a neutral transition shade, you just have like darker deepening shades. This just is not something I needed, and I pretty much instantly regretted buying this. Like the first time I used it, I was like, oh, really shouldn't have purchased this. Okay, I have another eyeshadow palette. So this is not something that I personally purchased, but it basically did because my husband purchased this for me. This is the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette, and I really wanted this, but this is just like your plain old basic palette, and there's definitely some dud shades in here. I've talked about this before, but this Angel Fire shade is super chunky. Like you want to use it as an inner corner highlight, and then all of a sudden you literally are blind for the day. because you have chunks of glitter in your eyeball. Not a good situation. I do really like the shade Bucked. I do really like Endgame, Burn, and Reputation. Outside of that, definitely not worth the money. Sorry, Urban Decay, wasn't impressed. Another regret. This is the Nabila Poison Garden palette, and I purchased this after I had purchased the Nabila Secret palette, which I really ended up loving, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need literally everything Nabila has ever sold ever now. So I ended up purchasing this, and this looked much more inspiring when I saw the swatches and saw it online, and then I got it in person and I was like, is this the palette? And then I went onto the Ulta website to look at it and I was like, oh, I guess this is the palette that I ordered. Ugh. It's just like not inspiring. Like even on screen it looks a little bit more vibrant, but in person, in my opinion, it's just kind of like a dull, uninspiring palette. I find that the darker mattes are a little bit patchy and harder to blend. I should have just stuck with the Secret palette. I really did not need this and I definitely regret purchasing it. Ooh, a face palette. This is the NARS Hot Nights, and for some reason NARS face palettes always intrigue me and I just need to stop buying them because I'm never impressed. So this is what, and I'm actually decluttering this. I talked about this recently in a recent like makeup I'm getting rid of. The bronzer, way too warm. The highlight, unimpressive. And honestly, these like eyeshadow shades just don't really go together. Like you could do like a one shadow and done, I suppose, but I was expecting this to make me look like Keira Knightley on the beach of like Pirates of the Caribbean. I hope I'm saying the right actress in that. I think it's Keira Knightley in Pirates of the Caribbean. I expected to look like her when I wore this palette, and unfortunately I just, you know, wasn't drawing those vibes. Unfortunately, I just didn't look like Keira. Unacceptable. So therefore, I highly regret purchasing this because I should have known, because I've purchased NARS face palettes before and been very underwhelmed. Take a lesson, stuff. And I almost purchased another cheek palette this holiday from NARS and talked myself out of it because I was like, you are never impressed by these. Why are you even considering it? Two concealers I regret purchasing. One I thought I liked and swiftly changed my mind. It's the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Concealer. First of all, my shade is just way too light. Second of all, it's just meh. It's moussey, it's fine, but I feel like it can end up being a little bit drying, and it's not something that I would repurchase. I definitely bought into the hype of this. I can specifically remember getting ready that day, watching reviews on the Fenty concealer and being like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to Sephora today to buy that concealer. And while I was there, I decided I also needed to try the Smashbox Studio Skin Flawless 24-Hour Concealer. This isn't the right shade. This I just bought on a whim. I shouldn't have purchased this. I definitely regret buying both of these. I need to like get it together and think through my purchases a little bit more, which I've started to. I mean, I've definitely gotten better this year, but still, we've still got a long way to go, you know? Ooh, this is a huge regret. I don't know what I was thinking. This is the Kaja Dream Puff Radiant Mousse Primer, and the reason I purchased this is because I wanted to try the Origins primer that is in an aerosol can but couldn't get my hands on it, so I thought naturally the Kaja one would be a good option. But this is basically like an all-over body glimmer, body shimmer. Not really the best for face priming unless you want to look like a sparkly Tin Man. Like not just the Tin Man, like the Tin Man who's been spray painted like sparkly. So I'm going to try and get use out of this summer as an all over body glow. Give me like, you know, those sexy beach vibes, sexy Keira Knightley on a frickin' Pirates of the Caribbean boat vibes, hopefully. But I definitely regret purchasing this. This was just stupid. This isn't a good product in my opinion for me. Another bought on a whim. This is the Dominique Cosmetics Rustic Glam, and I'm not gonna lie, I regret this, but at the same time, like I love the packaging so much, like I'm not super upset about it, but I still didn't need this. And I like some of this palette, but like I didn't need it. So these bottom four shadows right here, I love. And I also enjoy this like neutral transition, although this is super light even on my skin tone, so I don't really know how it would work on anyone much deeper than me. The blues and the green and the pink, very hard to blend, a little bit patchy, and by a little bit I mean kind of a lot bit. And then I just don't really care for like these shades that have like, they're like a matte shimmer. I'm just not into that. Now I have not tried this purple shade all over my lid. I would be curious to see what I think of that, but overall I just like about half of this palette. Now I love Wanderlust, which is the shimmer green, which is another reason that I purchased this palette. But in the grand scheme of things, I've really started to get quite the collection of green shimmery shadows. I probably didn't need this. And this was one that I had recently put on my loves list. I went into my Sephora, wasn't expecting this to be there, and then it was, and I was like, oh, yep, need it. Need it. I need to stop going into Sephora. Okay, I have just a few more products. So I didn't actually purchase this for myself, but I did ask for this for my birthday from my sister. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Wonder Glow Primer. There's really nothing special about this. Like, I feel like I hear people say like this is incredible, and there really is nothing special about this at all. I don't feel like it helps with the longevity of wear of your makeup, and I also feel like it leaves like a gold shimmer on your face. I feel like I liked this the first few times that I used it. I feel like I liked this in the summer. I may have even mentioned this in a favorites, but the more I've used it, I'm like, this really is not impressive for the $55 price point. So I regret wanting this, and I will not repurchase this. Ugh. This upset me so much because I had been wanting this for so long, and my Sephora was always sold out, and then finally my Sephora had this in Mocha Chocolate. This is the Marc Jacobs like lip gloss stick. This is just stupid. Like, I mean, you put it on, it looks fine. It doesn't really add a whole lot to the lips, and then in 20 minutes I'll be needing to reapply again. I'd probably just go with the Marc Jacobs actual lip gloss as opposed to the lip gloss stick, at least in my opinion. I know a lot of people like these, but for $28 I was really disappointed and definitely regret picking this up. And then the final product, this one really let me down. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand. I thought this was gonna make me look like a dreamy freaking Greek goddess. I saw Kathleen Lights talk about this. This looked gorgeous on her skin, and when I put this on, I basically feel like it blends away into nothing. I'm like, but where did it go? Why am I not looking like Kathleen here? Like, hello? You basically just like dot this on to your cheeks, and then you blend it out, and it's supposed to give you like just a glowy cheek, which it does give you a glowy cheek. It just, goodness gracious, it looked so beautiful on Kathleen. And then I put it on myself, and I'm like, yep, just same old boring basic old stuff here. Spending $38 on a product that did nothing. Alright, anyway, you guys, that is the end of my bin of my makeup regrets for 2019. Leave me a comment down below. That was weird. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what products you regret purchasing this year. You got any? I would love to hear from you. Oh, look, I'm blurry again. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what products you regret purchasing this year and why. I would love to hear from you. Did you think that did you buy a product and think you were gonna look like, I don't know, who is a popular celebrity these days? Ooh, I'm really out of touch with my like pop culture. Hannah Montana? Did you buy a product and think you were gonna look like Hannah Montana and then were really let down and regretful? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.